Uh, 2023, we're going to start with the work session and then go into the 2027. Only 23, work session. Go through the work session and the board meeting. So
I think we're just going to toss this right to Cassie and her wonderful group of student. Oh, I just.
I'll take it from there. Thank you, first of all, for having us today. We are really excited to provide some updates on behavioral health and wellness services in Forest Grove School District and some changes and improvements we've been making so far this year. Have a really wonderful crew of people here with me today. That's one of the reasons why I love being part of behavioral health and wellness so much, is because when I put it out there, who wants to come and talk about what you do? Everybody wants to, and we're super passionate about it. So we're going to try to stick to our time limit today. Next slide. So we have Christina Meinica, who is our K-8 student success coach. We have Kelsey Call, who is a school counselor at Neil Armstrong Middle School. We have Hannah Thompson and Karina Lopez, who are two of our mental health care coordinators in district, and myself, Kathy Kenny, district coordinator of behavioral health and wellness. A little bit what you'll be hearing about today: student success coaching, SEL, school counseling, mental health care coordination, suicide prevention, and alcohol and drug prevention and intervention. As a note, in your board packets, you should have additional data. We track a lot of data and we do not have time to go over all of it today, but that additional data is in your packet. And at any time that you have questions about that data, you can always reach out to one of us or ask us questions as we go through our presentation today. And just as a brief reminder, anything we do for behavioral health and wellness in the school district needs to be trauma informed, needs to be SEL driven, needs to be strengths-based and equity centered. So everything you hear about today, those are our core and what we keep in mind when we're developing services.
Okay, so hi, again, I'm Christina Meinica, and as you know, I could talk forever about student success coaching, but I'm not going to. We're going to talk about a couple of just really specific things that we're involved in, and that includes Christine Dabbs, our other student success coach. The first major part of our work is true coaching impact cycle, Jim Knight's impact cycle. And we wanted to make sure that we provided you just a little bit of perspective on the work that we've done so far this year. So far this year, K-8, we've been able to work with 102 individual teachers, which means that we are meeting with them one-on-one. We have been able to provide support to all K-8 schools. Okay, and a lot of group work. We've met 157 individual peers goals, and peers goals are powerful, easy, emotionally compelling, reachable, but most important, they're student focused. So we've met 157, and this is as of the end of January. We haven't calculated the February numbers. The second biggest part that we're going to just chat about a little bit today is our program development. That's a key component of the work we're doing, which includes SEL survey implementation, It includes tier 1 work that we're doing at Neil Armstrong, literacy integration with the adoption of Amplify. We've been working really hard with our literacy team to make sure that we're integrating our work. And then I'm going to talk a little bit later about SEL standards. So one big piece that we have identified over the past 2 years in the 5-8 level is classroom management for engagement. So within our coaching work and within just the work that we have been providing SEL and with our SEL partners, we've recognized that we don't have a common language. So we did a needs assessment, and this is where we are. We are in the process of adopting a classroom management for engagement model. 90% of the staff that we surveyed in the last 2 weeks rated this as a high or significant need. So we have staff buy-in. We have also their list of like, what are we looking for? So our number one piece that we are looking for is how does it integrate seamlessly into academic and instruction? And then what's the lift? So we're not looking for something that is separate. We're looking for what are some high impact instructional strategies that we can implement in a timely fashion with students and all staff 5-8 that also ties into what we currently do in our K4s, which is PACS. Right now, we've narrowed it down to 2 models, Champs and Envoy, and you can see our timeline over on the right. So by the end of the school year, in fact, by the end of March, our hope is that we will have a model chosen, and then we will be working on our implementation plan. Which leads us right into what's going on with all of our social emotional learning work. One of the key pieces that we've been working on as a district is Portrait of a Graduate, which includes attributes of a learner. And you can see on the left, we have our components of social emotional learning, CAS support competencies with our transformative focal constructs, which is the addition of the equity components. And on the right, we have our FGSD learner profile. We wanted to make sure that we highlighted how these two are very integrated. When you look at our learner profile, the role of social emotional learning is for us to ensure that we're identifying what are the needs and the skills of our students, and then using that information to choose and to help implement instructional strategies throughout the day, both explicitly and integrated, to help students develop these skills so that we can say, here's our learner profile, here's how we're doing it, and we can measure those outcomes. And a big piece of this work is in 2024, the state of Oregon will be rolling out and implementing SEL state standards. So right now we are in the phase 2 portion of this, and there is a team, an advisory group that is working for the state with the state to develop the SEL standards. And I'm really proud to say that I'm a part of that team, which helps our district out, but also I'm really proud to be a part of that team because our district is 10 steps ahead of many districts because of the work that we've done. So when we're looking at this roadmap and we're looking at 2024 and being ready to implement the SEL standards and framework, it's important to know that that framework is for both our systems and our schools, and the standards then are for our students and our educators. So the work that we're doing with the classroom management for engagement, the work that we're doing on the program development pieces that I mentioned, those are pieces that we're implementing with this in mind. So when we get to 2024, we will have 90% of the pieces that we're required to do in place. And we're making sure that we're doing that in a way that is manageable for our teachers so that it's not a heavy lift when that comes and is sustainable.
And at any point, if you have questions about what we're talking about as we go through the different categories, please feel free, just jump in, ask them. We'd love it to be a conversation. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about comprehensive school counseling. And before Kelsey dives into the work that they are doing as a school counseling team this school year, I just wanted to bring to light, these are our current school counselor to student ratios. And we always have kind of the gold standard of 1 to 250 in mind, and that is where we want to be. So what you'll see up there in the parentheses are where we were prior to the additional SIA funding, comprehensive school counseling. And then you'll see our current ratios of school counselors to students in our district. And although we're where we want to be in most places, we also are still as a district continually keeping our eye on different sites or buildings that might be higher than that ratio, and how are we getting them the support they need to provide those services to students.
So Cassie, the number in the parentheses, that's where we were.
That's where we were in 2020, 2021, prior to the district and school board's investment in comprehensive school counseling. And then the first numbers you see there are the current ratios in each of those buildings, pulled from Panorama just 2 weeks ago. Also, part of the work we're doing as a comprehensive school counseling team is looking at our comprehensive school counseling plan in district and always striving to improve our services. And we wanted to share with you one of the pieces of work we've been doing this year is updating our comprehensive school counseling vision and mission. As a district, we've moved ahead. We have a learner profile. We have a new purpose and promise, and our comprehensive school counseling vision and mission hadn't caught up to that yet. So this year, all of our school counselors came together and gave feedback in a variety of ways through thought exchange, in person, through meetings. We had a lot of great conversations. And this is where we have settled currently on our vision and mission. But this is just the beginning of the work that we're doing as a comprehensive school counseling team to really align our services across district.
So again, I'm Kelsey Call. I'm one of the counselors at Neil Armstrong Middle School. Pleasure to be here tonight. And so recognized ASCA model programs. This is for some schools aspirational that we're moving towards. For one of our schools, stay tuned. They already have branch status. Now, a recognized ASCA model program, ASCA just stands for American School Counselor Association, which is the foremost authority on effective school counseling practices and programs. And what it means to be a recognized ASCA model program just means that the counseling program aligns its practices with those recommended practices in the ASCA national model, specifically for the areas of academic, career, and social emotional development. In the state of Oregon, there are 7 schools that have this ramp recognition, one of which is our high school here, and they're also the only high school in Oregon with that recognition, which is an exemplary achievement, and really useful to have their insights for the rest of us, which we'll talk about on the next slide here. So first, ramp, it's nice to see that we might get the seal of approval from the American School Counselor Association. That seal of approval is not the reason to do the work. The reason it's just that it's better for students. And because it's the best practices, most evidence-based practices, and constructing our own programs to align with that framework is going to allow us to balance all of the miscellaneous needs and priorities that come up with the most effective and efficient ways to deliver those services to students. And there's a lot of research that backs ramp programs as being more beneficial to students. Virtually in most all areas, but that includes academic achievement. It includes attendance rates for lower grades. It has really positive impacts on 3rd grade reading levels to set them up for long-term success. And it also has an inherent equity benefit because when comparing the performance of low income related achievement to state averages, ramp programs perform better for those students rather than the programs that are not grant associated. Now, the most substantial barrier for doing this kind of work for any school counseling program is, of course, the time and energy that would go into refining and adjusting programs. As particularly true in the post-pandemic years, or pandemic, post-pandemic, however you would like to distinguish there. But the process of applying alone has benefits. And improves the efficacy and impact of counseling programs. Just trying to get in alignment to be able to apply is beneficial. And the additional school counselors in particular that have been added as a result of the SIA funds is really the foremost reason why we're able to take on this additional work in order to take all of the good things that we already have, refine it, improve it, and continue to adapt and grow. Yeah, and it's exciting to continue to be doing this work and looking for the future years, which spell out and the details of this last slide. It is a fun signal. So the ramp process itself, the ramp application is just the culmination of all of our efforts to align. And so there's all these different components in the application that correspond to the direct and indirect services that school councils provide. And this refinement or this process can take some years to implement it, which is why we started having conversations about it. I mean, the high school had already been starting earlier, but for this current cohort, we were having meetings about how to structure it last year. This year, we've been having monthly meetings to take each of those application components, break them down, see where we're already in good shape and where we might need to do the most work to align. And currently Tom McCall and Neil Armstrong are collaborating with each other to go through those nuances under the guidance of some of our wonderful high school counseling team who have gone through this process already. So the 22-23 year, this year, that's where we're having these monthly meetings. 23-24, that's where we're collecting all the data that's going to go into the application. And then October of 2024 is where we're going to actually submit the application to then see if we do achieve ramp status. And then one summary note to end with ramping side, this process and having this dedicated time to collaborate with each other, it's been really wonderful because it allows us to collaborate with really critical transition points between Tom McCall and NAMS in high school. And so it's allowing us to not only align better with the Ask a National model, but align within counseling programs K through 12 anyway, which is just really great to collaborate with people. And so that's it for me. Thank you.
I don't think,
So do they, oftentimes when you're applying for these things, there's a site that people come out and visit the sites for on-site interviewing, question and answer. I mean, I think of high school certification and that's always an on-site thing. So do they do that for this?
I don't,
Okay.
correct. I don't believe that there is for the ramp process, but I know for the high school, it took them at least 3 years. I think they were right on the cusp of applying, then realizing there was one part of comprehensive school counseling that they still needed to shore up and work on. It is a huge undertaking for school counselors, especially at Tom McCall and Neil Armstrong, and watching them to collaborate to align practices in the best interest of students has been really wonderful. And our goal is October of 2024, but a lot of programs apply multiple times before they achieve that status. But like Kelsey said, the ultimate outcome is not ramp. The ultimate outcome is how are we taking these school counseling ratios and providing the best possible services for our students, ramp aside. And like Kelsey said, this is cohort A. So we're really hopeful that this is the model that our school counseling programs will go through with a cohort B and a cohort C until all of our comprehensive school counseling programs in district are aligned to the gold standard for school counseling.
Thank you for what you shared so far. It's very progressive and very exciting. So I applaud you on those efforts. The question I have is based on the workload. You know, you said the work undertaken, right? So, and I heard data collection. That's a lot of work as well. Is that already being addressed in the future in regards to is a counseling team doing the data collection and the analysis of it to be able to eventually bring all that information to the board to be able to benchmark it? Do you have what you need within the system to actually get all this done?
Thank you for that question. And I also want to hear from Kelsey as well from the school counselor lens. I would say, yes, we're collecting that data. We, for the past, oh gosh, maybe 4 or 5 years in district have been doing time studies with our school counseling program to make sure that at least 80% of our time as a school counseling program is spent in direct services to students. So often it can be easy to get pulled into administrative tasks in the building, but we really want our school counselors focused on direct services to students. There is also a big component of the ramp process that's all about student outcome data and student-driven goals. I don't know, Kelsey, if you want to share a little bit about setting those goals this year and what that looks like.
Yeah, sure. So fortunately for us, the current way that we have set our student learning growth goals is relatively similar to the way that that the ramp application is asking for the data. We just sort of have to tweak some of the framing because they do have very specific ways that they want to arrange, like sentence fragments with numbers and how they want percentages calculated. So a lot of the time we're like inverting some of the language, or we're focusing on slightly different ways of grouping students, but it's still aligned with our SLGG practices. So that part has mostly been translational. There is additional data that the application will ask for that goes beyond what our SLGGs do. However, it is mostly asking for data that would be very similar to pre-post data. For example, one of the components of the application is small group counseling. And so having small groups of students to work on particular skill sets and then assessing pre and post. These are common practices that our school counselors are already using where they're able to. And so this is more about formalizing that. So the workload of taking this on is definitely it's definitely significant, and there's always an extent for any position in education where the work is endless if you allow it to be. And so it's definitely something that requires intentional collaboration to make sure that we are balancing the various priorities effectively. So it is some additional workload on the front end. However, because the Ask a National model is meant to balance all these different priorities in a way that maximizes efficiency with best evidence-based practices, it should actually help us to be more intentional with the workload to balance it out for our professional and personal lives anyway. So it's definitely additional effort right now. And if it were not for the additional counseling staff, I think we would just be treading water and would not be making actual progress toward this alignment. However, having the additional brain power and having the smaller caseloads for us to manage, it translates really meaningfully in us being able to take that time to take all the wonderful things that we have and sort of fit it into a slightly different framework. Because a lot of the stuff in here is it's things that we're already doing, and it's more about just balancing out all into the framework that is most recommended. I hope that answers the question.
You did, you mentioned it several times, which is intentional collaboration.
Yeah. That's it's been fantastic, especially even the monthly meetings that we have here, where we have that hour to 2 hours, depending on the meeting set aside, so that we're not pulled into all the miscellaneous things that come up in a school building, and we're actually able to collaborate with each other. That's been crucial. Yeah, and very beneficial.
Okay, so now we're gonna talk about mental health care coordination. So I'm Hannah, I'm the 9-12 care coordinator. And so this year we have Karina who was added to our team. So now we have a K6, a 7-8, and then me at 9-12. So to go over some of our data, this first semester, we've had 278 total mental health care coordination referrals between the three of us. To look at that over the past couple of years, in January of 2021, we had 130. Last year, we had 228, so we continue to just grow with student needs, students knowing about us, families knowing about us, and counselors referring to us. You can see it broken down by the different levels and then gender identity. So we're serving about equal males and females. And then if you look at our demographics over here, 53% are students identifying as Latinx, 48.6 identifying as white, and then we have some other categories listed there. We're pulling that from Synergy. And so students can identify in multiple categories, so we're just capturing that and data. The top 5 primary reasons for the referrals getting to us have been trauma and other family systems issues, anxiety and worry, depression, behavioral and emotional issues and outbursts, and then current and or history of suicidal ideation or self-harming behaviors. So the next slide. So we tried to think about how do we want to categorize our outcome data. So we've created 5 different levels of support. The first being the family either declined for now or we weren't able to contact them. Level 2 would be, we've had some positive interactions with the family, we've given resource recommendations, and for various reasons, they have not connected as of yet. Level 3 would be that we're continuing to have positive interaction with the family, and then care coordinators are using motivational interviewing or other strength-based interventions to engage the student and help them reconnect with natural resources and supports, or more like strategic interventions, whether that's in the school building, utilizing our groups at our different levels, joining clubs, reconnecting with their school counselor or ourselves for some regular meetings, and lots of other supports, but those are some of the main categories. And at that point, they're saying, yeah, my mental health feels like it's improved. I'm not needing to go to outside therapy as of now, but we continue to check in with the student and family and monitor that. Level 4 would be that the family or student has intended to take or has been scheduled and they are connected. And then level 5 would be we check in throughout, but at that 6-week mark, are they still connected? Are we seeing progress? Are they feeling like it's helpful? So in our different levels, we have 13% at the level 1, 11.5 at level 2, 17.3 at level 3, about 29 at level 4, and 29 at level 5. So we continue again to always be reaching out and trying to engage families in outreach to get as many of our families to level 4 and 5. But 75.2 are at that positive outcome level of 3 through 5.
I also want to just bring some context into that our mental health care coordinators are experiencing this year is just the lack of community-based mental health providers in the Western Washington County area. So we're having an easier time connecting our older students with maybe virtual therapy or online therapeutic interventions, but especially at the younger age range, it's been challenging. And the 3 of them are so well versed in community-based resources and mental health services and culturally responsive services that are family specific in the area. And they work really hard. Some of the outcomes we're seeing here is just a lack of community-based resources, but our mental health care coordinators can also provide brief kind of solution-focused motivational interviewing to help a student with their current mental health needs while they're connecting with outside resources. So sometimes, in addition to all of the care coordination, they also act as a bridge until we can get them connected.
Yeah, and in the packets, we created some case studies to highlight the different like levels of care coordination that we provide. Sometimes it's super straightforward of just we meet the family, we gather some mental health history and information, their insurance information, what are they looking for in a provider, and just giving them resources. Sometimes we're making 3-way calls, they're calling with them to get them connected. More like a higher level of need or more collaborative would be getting releases of information and then working with their outside providers to align on goals and coping skills and safety planning and support planning on how the school is supporting that process to a more extreme level or more complex level of if the student is hospitalized, we're working with their care teams in the hospital. We are helping with transition plans, helping with safety planning, etc. So it really depends on the need. Okay.
And how does this data compare to last year's data in terms of the outcome data?
I would have to go back and look at it specifically. I didn't look at that.
Is it in the
specific
packet?
number.
I didn't see it.
The last year's outcome data wasn't, but we can go on that.
We have that information.
Okay.
We can
I'm just curious. And is the shortage a supply and demand issue?
Yep.
Okay, so there's a lot more supply out there and just a lot more demand and there's not enough.
Yeah, I can tell you probably every mental health provider in district, myself included, is getting headhunted constantly
Yeah.
or by outside mental health providers because there really just is a lack in terms of the pipeline of new mental health providers.
I don't like that. That's too bad.
Yeah, well, it's very fun.
Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So we'll go through some suicide prevention, of that work. Next slide. So these are the different suicide prevention programs we are using currently in our school district. QPR, Kendra and I are QPR trainers for the district. We have a goal of training all staff in districts every 2 years, so continuing that cycle. You can see there the buildings and groups that have already been trained between last year and this year. We're trying to hit every building, all staff, as well as trained Sodexo, Midco, athletic coaches, and had several community trainings. So we'll continue.
Real quick, it says available to all district staff, but does that mean that they're all doing it?
So it means we have reached out to all buildings, all admin, and offered it, and so we are still working with some of the other buildings to get scheduled.
But I just wonder like how many people are actually utilizing that, like coaches and Midco and Sodexo, like everybody, like it'd be great if everybody was doing it, so how many are actually really doing it?
So I put that in the packet. I think we have trained as of now.
And they show up, so for truly, it's just about PD time in building. So we take a CIT time to train building staff, and so it's about getting on that schedule. So we've been able to get on the PD schedule for these buildings so far, but because it is during a professional development time, all staff are expected to attend and be a part of the training. It's just
Is
getting.
that how that works for Midco and Sodexo and the coaches as well? They're not district staff in the sense that they're at these
Yeah,
meetings.
so Sodexo, we trained here, right, like during pre-service, right after school started, they were trained here. Midco, we went to their Midco building during one of their morning meetings. Athletic coaches, we had a morning meeting. Yeah, they did show up, and actually, so we trained 380 individuals. Team mental health first aid is being used in our health 2 classes at the high school. All of our trained suicide screeners have been trained. Our flight team members have been trained by Connect, and then Sources of Strength is the newest program we have brought to the high school. And you can go to the next slide. So we kind of went over it briefly last year, but Sources of Strength is an evidence-based upstream prevention model. So we have a lot of work being done, like at the intervention level. We know a student is experiencing suicidal ideation or safety planning or support planning. We're doing that screening and getting them resources, but this program is more upstream where we're trying to build protective factors, increase connectedness, and normalize health-seeking behaviors. And what's awesome about this program is that it's really peer-led. So there's adult advisors at the high school, but the work being done is by our peer leaders doing positive messaging campaigns and talking about mental health, talking about their support systems, their resources, and how to ask for help, and hearing about it from each other, not just from us adults. For the next slide. So these are some just like a collage of pictures of things that have been going on from Sources of Strength at the high school. The middle picture.
Did this show it? Sorry, I think I missed it on the 2 slides back. Did it show how many peer people you have?
Right now we have 30, about 30 in our group, and we're continuing to grow that. That center picture, these students were trained last week, I'm sorry. Someone from the city from Sources of Strength came in to train some of our campaigns. One of them was at the beginning of the school year during pre-service. We had a panel of students come in during our pre-service staff training, and they talked to students or our staff about what is Sources of Strength, and then what does a trusted adult look like from the student perspective. And we got a lot of positive feedback from our staff that it's great to hear from us, but to hear it from the members of students is really impactful. And then just these are some of the campaign pictures.
And those really cool shirts that everybody got for board appreciation with the 988. Those were designed by students through the Sources of Strength program at the high school level.
So we have time for that Source of Strength. Yeah.
So again, my name is Karina. I am the new mental health coordinator at so this year, our 5 through 12 grade schools adopted Teen Intervene as an early intervention program. Sorry. So it's for students who have
Yes, I'll take this slide and you can.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, where are you going? And thank you, Karina, your first year in district coming. Thank you.
personal.
No. So much. Teen Intervene is a new intervention program that we brought to the district this year. Historically, as part of our discipline process for any alcohol or drug concern in district grades 5 through 12, it would be an alcohol and drug assessment. we started digging into that last year and thinking about what really is an effective way to intervene with students. And we realized the way we were doing it wasn't what we wanted to do going forward. It wasn't effective. We had a lot of students and families decline a full-on alcohol and drug assessment after a disciplinary incident at the high school level. We also realized that at the high school, we had a youth contact counselor who would provide that, but at the middle school, we didn't have a youth contact counselor. And so families would need to pay out of pocket to reduce their suspension time through an A&D assessment, which is not equitable for our families or our students. And so we started collaborating with other districts in the area and came across Teen Intervene, which is an evidence-based expert model, which is screening for brief intervention and referral to treatment. But we don't do the screening part of it in Forest Grove. The disciplinary incident is kind of, that's when they're screened in to the intervention. The things that we really like about Teen Intervene and our pilot this year is that it is not assessment, it's intervention. So it is actual meetings with students in the school-based setting where one of our mental health care coordinators or our school counselor at Calc is also trained, and our mental health specialist at Oak Grove is also trained, meets with the student twice individually, and then does their best to bring in families for a family session around engaging the student level of motivation, helping to increase their level of motivation, and then really working on building a positive coping mechanism so they're not using alcohol and drugs, and hopefully preventing further disciplinary incidents.
So just a question about that.
Yeah.
I've been a high school principal and middle school. So is it, I mean, I think I heard you say that the normal routine would be, there's an incident. And there is the, whatever disciplinary incident, suspension. Suspension can be reduced generally by agreeing to have an assessment. And are you, so I guess my question is have we changed a policy in the district to mirror what you're doing now? Is that right?
Good question. So policy is still the same,
Okay.
but as opposed to an alcohol and drug assessment, which most times didn't lead to treatment, is what we found from our youth contact counselors. The kind of like the ticket to reduce suspension is the parent signs consent for the student to participate in Teen Intervene. Then that referral goes to our mental health care coordinators, who then, as soon as the student's back in school, can pull them and start that intervention. So we're making sure they're getting connected with treatment and intervention and not just assessment, and it's stopping there.
It sounds like instead of an assessment, it's an intervention. Is that right?
Correct.
So, and you know, this has been going on for, well, my 30 plus years, which is there's a drug and alcohol incident, there's a discipline, a consequence, and then we would be trying to hook them into some sort of counseling, but that almost never happened. And so what it really was is just consequence back at school and no real like work, real like connection with another human about, hey, what is going on? And so that I think has been the real attractive part of this. Again, I haven't heard really how it's going this year and how you're liking that. That would be a really good.
Thank you for queuing that up. That's where we're going with this next. Also as a note, we're collaborating with other districts in Washington County and implementing Teen Intervene this year. So we're not in it alone, and we have monthly meetings with surrounding districts.
A question about, I saw a couple of, about connecting with the community and based on what's being talked about. And I know that at the last board meeting, we talked about potential money that might be available, coming, whatever it's gonna happen in regards to the biennial funding from the governors. And one of the things that I picked up is mental health is one of the kind of the IAPs, pretty high. In that 10 years, I don't know what to do at this point. So how much of community-based is going on right now with the school district in the community base? What is community to the school district right now? It does not mean, what does that mean? Is that a nonprofit? Is that police department? What does that mean? What is community?
So when we're referring, are you asking when we refer to community-based mental health resources? Yeah, good question. That would be any sort of nonprofit or community-based mental health provider, could also be a private provider. So depending on a family's insurance, our care coordinators are really great at figuring out what is the need, what is their preference in terms of a provider, and then really that insurance is a sticking point. So if a family has OHP, then that's a certain list of providers that will accept that insurance. If a family has private insurance, that's a whole different route to go. And if they're uninsured, that's another route that we go to connect them with community-based resources. But it really is licensed mental health providers who are not employed by the school district, but are employed by either nonprofit community-based organizations or in private practice.
Yeah, and here we see our first semester data. We have a total of 28 referrals. You see here 20 at the high school, 8 at Neil Armstrong, and we haven't had any at upper elementary. We have 22 related to marijuana and 6 related to alcohol use. We also try to categorize our outcomes with the same level that we use our Care for Nation levels from. So if you look down here, we can see that, again, the one is minimal participation / engagement with the team. We have 1 student and 3 parents, so 12%. We have 12% at a level 2 and 3% with the parent at level 2, and then majority of our percentage is level 3 and 4. Again, 3 being students maybe not being ready at that time for mental health services, but still connecting them with supports within our school or their counselors for routine check-ins, and then 4 being that they were ready, we connected them, and we're just having ongoing care coordination. We see that 85% of our team related activity participated in teen intervention and reported being in an active stage of change, and 85% as well parents are also engaged in the process, and we're open to it.
So to answer your question, Dave, that's great.
That's a lot better than what we
were seeing previously. So we keep calling it a pilot, but based upon this outcome, I believe that Teen Intervene is what we're going to continue to use moving forward to help support students who experience alcohol.
Yeah, and I think it's also a good way to connect with these teens. And a lot of times there's much more that's going on. It's not just, oh, we're drinking just to be cool. There's a lot more going on with these teens. So it really allows us to connect, as you were mentioning, to connect with the person. And I also want to mention, I don't think we added that, but we are providing these sessions in Spanish. We also have Catholic Spanish. Myself and Kendra speak Spanish, so we provide that.
I have a question. So last Thursday, the school, there was no activities at the school, and NAS was having an activity in the afternoon from 5 to 8, I think.
Yeah.
That the principal sent out in regards to the concern about the elevated concerns about gang activity. So I haven't seen anything here about gang activity in relation to drug or behavior issues, or is that coming, or is that not in?
That's not something we were planning on covering today, but just like with the evening event at Neil Armstrong, really it was around finding a sense of belonging, and we plan to have a table there, table to connect with families around mental health care coordination, discuss attendance, to talk about SEL in schools, talk about all the different ways, and mental health is a part of that, where students can find a sense of belonging in school, so they're not looking for it in other places.
Because I see that connection, that's just my own theory.
Yeah.
I think maybe that way.
Absolutely.
I think we're questions. I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate the information And even more importantly, the work, one of our main care deeply, one of our main maxims. And again, I think we're going to talk more about, I'm going to present information about SIA and high school success, how we're spending our money. But this is a big portion of what we purchased with the student investment account. And so it's very timely to kind of come in here what you're working on. Other questions from our board members? Comments?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Dave? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. In the beginning, in the packet, they had team activity by building. And with what you're doing, do you go into the building? Because I noticed that Fern Hill had 14% of the team going into that building, where Harvey Clark only had 7% and Cornelius 7%. So I was thinking perhaps that was because there was new teachers that hadn't been trained. Is that the case, why the number was 14% versus 7% in Harvey Clark and Cornelius?
Yeah, so when you're looking at activity by building, we're talking about that is specifically based on, or the percentage based on individual teachers that have opted into coaching support. And so you're absolutely right. When you look at the percentages of teachers that we work with, right now, over 60% of the teachers that we're working with are also within their first 3 years of teaching. And so Fern Hill has a higher percentage of newer teachers. And so I'm just going to say that that's part of why that percentage is higher. I also just want to reiterate, though, that coaching in our districts, the student success coaching, is an option. Teachers have the ability to opt in. Christine and I both, I would say one of the things that we're proudest of is we are very visible. Like, we are in the buildings and teachers know how to access us. And so right now, those percentages really show you who is accessing that. One of those pieces, though, also to make sure that I'm mentioning is some of the SEL work that we're doing with surveys includes the 3rd and 4th grade team at Fern Hill. And that also includes us working in their 100% meetings and integrating into literacy. So at Fern Hill, both 3rd and 4th grade are doing that work of the SEL survey and the 100% meetings, which then leads to coaching also. So that's why that percentage might be a little higher for Fern Hill. Harvey Clark is participating in that with 3rd grade only right now, but that's why some of those percentages are higher in some buildings that have more of those program development components going also.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the presentation. It was very insightful. So thank you, your team.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you as well. It's a lot of great information, and a few years ago when we started investing more money to this, I mean, the need is great and it still is great, but you guys are making really good gains.
Thank you.
Yeah, Christina, you sat the whole time.
I do want you to, sorry, but I was thinking about this. It was 8 minutes and I had to sit.
I was thinking about it before.
All right, okay, thank you. And any questions that come up after this, please reach out to any of us. We love to talk about this, so we welcome any additional questions.
I just want to thank you, and for those of you that are, please don't leave our district.
We've got a really great team of mental health providers. I feel really, really lucky for who we have in Forest Grove.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, we'll end the work session at 6:23 and you can meet us. We're good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Good evening, we'll call the school board meeting to order, the February 27th, 2023 Forest Grove School District Board of Directors meeting called to order at 6:34 p.m. We'll do a roll call of board members present, on Deborah Ford, Chair present.
Brad McFerrell, present.
Martha Rovira present.
Valerie Ingram, present.
Kate Grandusky present. No, I can't hear anything.
Good evening, everyone. Karina Quintanilla, Chicas Program Manager at Adelante.
Enrique Pinion, Technology Department.
Eileen Blue, business. Kent Sheriff, student services.
John O'Neill is the superintendent.
Kevin Marine, HR.
Beverly Cornelius. Linda Suba, community member. Sharon Ruiz Diaz, community member.
Sarah Hermans, teacher at Comical.
Elizabeth Moore, teacher at Comical.
Well, thank you very much and welcome everybody. See, approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
It's been seconded, roll call vote, I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
So. Hundred and 61 pages of guidance around this, and tonight I've tried to summarize the work that's gone into this and to make it so that it's not so onerous. I will tell you that as we go through it, if you want more details, I can get you more details. But I've chosen to kind of summarize it because I'm going to give you the answer at the beginning, which is the work that we did and the things that we invested in: counseling, ELD, class size, well-rounded programs, safety and security. Those were good investments. And basically, we want to do those again. The money that's allocated here is basically, and this budget is the one the state has given us to point at. And basically, we can reinvest in those same investments that we did before. And we have to trim a little bit, but for the most part, we're just, those who've been good investments, we're going to do them again. So that's the conclusion to 161 pages of guidance and work. So with that, let's go ahead and get, just as a reminder, the Student Success Act had four main kind of buckets: class size, well-rounded education, instructional time, and health and safety. There were two outcomes. I'm gonna slam. So two outcomes: reducing academic disparities for all of our underserved groups, and then meeting students' mental health and behavioral health needs. That's what the student investment account was set up for. Then 2 years ago in the legislature said, hey, we've got a bunch of these grants that we want you to figure out a way, that they were talking to OD at this time, we want you to figure out a way to integrate all of these grants into one grant application. And so you've got the high school success is at the top there. That's the Measure 98. And that's $2 million. I forget the exact amount. The student investment account, that's again, the one that I think you're more familiar with. Then there's four other programs here that some of them have a little money. Continuous improvement planning doesn't actually have any money associated with it, but they wanted us to wrap it in here. Career and technical ed is Perkins. And so that is, that grant is wrapped into this. Everyday Matters was an attendance grant that was set up by ODB, and then early indicators and intervention systems. has a small amount of money that they wanted us to wrap this all in. So then this summer, we got the pages that said, this is how you're going to apply. Now, I'm going to talk about it later, but the application is what you are actually approving. And tonight, it won't happen tonight, but at the next meeting of the second reading, that's what we're going to ask you to approve, is our application to MDE, and I'll explain that at the end of this. Our priorities that we determined two years ago were English language development, behavioral health and wellness, instructional improvement, well-rounded education, safety, and class size. Those were where we spent our student investment account monies. And so I bring these up because you're going to see me break it out a little further on here. But this is where we kind of pushed our, now the high school success has slightly different priorities, but they, again, pretty similar. Theirs is really around career and technical ed. So most of the money is being spent in those areas. So the biggest part of this action, and the part that I actually, there's part of this that I'm not loving, and then there's a part of this that actually was after I'm done with that, as we come through it, was interesting and I could value. And the data and community input piece, I think, is where, again, it was interesting to go out and do the engagement with our folks. We created three teams. The steering team is the team that met this August, and it was the one kind of leading the work. We had this is a huge project, so parts of this got split up into subcommittees. The high school success, the Measure 98, you'll see the folks that they have there. They've got parents, they've got most of the subject areas, but that is the group that kind of looked at our high school success app and then said, what parts do you want to continue to spend money on, and where might we spend money if we had investments? This will all be, I can send this to you, and so you can have time to take a look at it. I know it's small type and lots of people, but and then we also had a student investment account subcommittee. This was a group that sat down and met and took into account all of the engagement information that we went out and got. So here was our community engagement that we participated in. We did district-wide parent, student, and staff climate and culture surveys and pushed those out through Panorama, and then we got that information back. The subcommittees took that information, looked at it, and then began to answer some questions around, like, is what we're doing valuable? Looking at the climate and culture surveys, does it say our investment in behavioral mental health yes, absolutely. We did empathy interviews, which is basically one-on-one interviews with 40 parents of color, sitting down talking about, so what is working well for you? What in your family, what is not working well? We did 150 middle school and high school student empathy interviews. Again, sitting down face-to-face with folks, asking them, how are they, what do they think? What are they worried about? What's going well for them? The high school started into its own, by the time we published that, 350 high school empathy interviews, and specifically, this was really focused around attendance, but the questions that they were asking was, hey, you're not attending school, why? What's going on? What are the things? And they've begun to kind of tally up that information. We engaged with, I engaged with Karen O'Neill and about 45 students and student superintendent student advisory over 3 different months, kind of walking them through how getting information about what are they worried about, what are the things that they think are going well, what are the things that they want to see improvement in. We also have the two main committees convened in January, took all of this information and began to look through it, kind of say, okay, are the things that we invested in, do we see some challenges with them? I'm going to hand you out This is a summary document from the student investment account. And like I said, I wasn't sure what kind of detail, how much detail you wanted. But what this document basically does is it goes through and asks the questions. Like the first question, do you see any connections between the needs identified by the data in general and the nature of the investments? So they had out in front of them all of the data. They went through and started, and each of the groups started to provide feedback. You'll see those are pictures of the actual posters that the folks were using there. I can get you as much detail as you want on this. I just didn't think it was particularly, I can get you as much detail as you want. I'll just stick with that part. So here's kind of what we learned from all of our engagement. And then there's some implications. So this is our summary of kind of everything that we heard from parents. I also have another document that I can get you, which is basically the summary of all the empathy interviews, which are really the most powerful, which is the one-on-one conversations with our parents. So I can get you a copy of that so you can look through it. I think that would be valuable. It's also linked into the presentation later. The basic gist was people maintain the current investments. They saw what we're doing with mental health, ELD, the at-risk kids. All of those pieces are still, they're good investments. The data strongly supported the investments made to increase counseling support, behavioral mental health. It was the primary thing that kids were, I think, were most worried about was safety, and then kind of behavioral mental health, like access. Can they get to a trusting adult in school? It came up in the superintendent's advisory. It came up in the empathy interviews. So that was one of the big. That investment is well made. Investing in English language learners was highly valued by the responders. That'll come out in the empathy interviews with parents. More investments needed to support the improvement on attendance. This came up. It came up as we were going through this, which is we've been very busy with lots of things and attendance. It's one of the reasons why the high school is shooting to have interviewed 1,000 students by the end of the school year around this issue, because it's has so much of an impact on performance right now. Is where kids are at after the pandemic with attendance. This is new. This is something we've added into where we're going forward. Increased resources to affect positively school culture, sense of belonging, identity, safety. This came up in the parents as they were talking, this issue around it'll come up here, how kids are feeling in school and that sense of belonging. Increased dual language opportunities. Again, the parents that we were talking to really appreciated it. They'd like to see us continue to expand that. Instructional support needs to be aimed at improving teaching practices. We're still behind. We need to continue to improve instruction. More investments needed to improve safety and security. Safety and security came up in every group. There's lots of perceptions about where we're at, but that's certainly from our engagement, that's a worry. Increase after school supervision engagement activities at FGSD. A lot of this has to do with our busing and some of the stuff going on with fights and some of those types of pieces. So the kids, it was a big conversation as we began to talk to them. Expand alternative education opportunities. We're already doing those pieces. That's the basic general. Like I said, I can get you more detail. I just wasn't sure where we wanted to go with that. Implications, I think for us, continue to support counseling, increase parent involvement, and communicate in modalities that are culturally responsive. This parent involvement engagement piece is definitely, it came up multiple places. It'll come up again in the strategic planning. So again, that's one of these places that we need to put some additional effort in. Honor bilingual education, invest in ELL, the need to invest in professional development opportunities. Continuing to diversify the workforce. This also came up in the parent empathy interviews, which is making sure that our teaching staff is similar to our student staff. Funding for us, and then this is our conclusion again, we need to continue to fund literacy coaches, math coaches. We need to improve instruction, and that's one of the ways that we need to do that. So that's me, that's our implication. This is as we're reading those, the summary engagement, this is what we're doing. I guess I should use a me, because I would ask everybody. Increase student supervision, develop new technology to enhance safety and security. We have a lot of stuff in the bond that will eventually help with some of this, but safety and security is still a big worry for both our community and our kids. Continue to address the social emotional needs of students and staff. That's certainly it's a large part of the SIA, and it's also it was borne out in what kids and parents were telling us. We gotta continue to support improvement on attendance rates. I can tell you right now, we won't come out of these grants, but we're already looking at expanding FTE, the person kind of organizing our. We currently contract with 0.5 FTE with ESD, or Luis Hernandez, who kind of organizes our system. We're looking to expand that to a 1.0, so we have somebody who's helping lead us and move us forward on this piece. So I know we'll also support that in some other places too. Progress indicators is part of this plan. There's these are chosen by ODE, and they are our measures. And we don't have the data yet. I might have come in today, I'm not sure, but we're supposed to be getting it in the next week here, and then we'll put together what the long-term progress goals are. We don't have to have this for you to approve this, but I will get it to you as soon as we get the data so that you know kind of what the goals are. And there'll be kind of a starting point, 5-year goal, and then stretch goals that we'll go through and calculate for these 5 regular attenders, 3rd grade reading, freshmen on track, 4-year graduation rate, and then the 5-year completer. Like I said, that's chosen by ODE.
This is the report card.
Yes, it's
into the report card.
yes.
Okay.
It'll be basically the assessment of those programs.
So regular attenders,
90% or better. Yeah. And it's actually the same thing that we use in Panorama as we begin to monitor which students are falling below on attendance. So that's actually a pretty useful measure for us. So what's in your packet? And I wanted to I'm not going to go through all the details. You'll have time to look at it, but I wanted to explain what was in there. The first part is you'll see a document. Go ahead and hit me with that. You'll see outcomes, and then you'll see some strategies. And there's basically, I forget, I think it's through F now, but the green there is the outcome, and then underneath of the strategies. Some of the strategies work for multiple outcomes. And so that's why you'll see some of them repeated. The blue, because we're merging student investment account and the high school success, the blue is what's coming in from the high school, which is some of our strategies in SIA will also work for them in the high school success, but some of them, they needed some other ones. And so that's what the blue is here. So when you're reading it, you can kind of see what are the strategies we added for the high school success plan. And then at the bottom, the outcomes are very similar to what we had last year. Again, we're kind of rolling our plan, not so much recreating it. But at the bottom, there is a new outcome E, increase equitable access to advanced coursework and college level opportunities. That's totally a high school success. And so the strategies under it are all about the high school and that measure 98 and what they needed. But that's what this document is. You can see what our outcomes, what we're shooting for, and then what are the strategies we have to accomplish. The next document, it's like, we were trying to figure out how to get it to you. This is actually what we have to submit to ODE. It's actually what you're approving is these, the outcomes and strategies, the application questions here, and then the budget sheet. And so there's like 90+ questions that they asked us to provide feedback. So this is the work of 10 to 15 different people, all answering. We put it on a tabloid piece. You're probably gonna have to do Zoom to see that, but we had to figure out a way to get you, because this is what Dave is actually gonna be submitting, but he has to submit it box by box to ODE in one session. Can't stop and go get lunch. You have to sit down. It's not. I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they do that. It's crazy. But I wanted you to all 90+ questions and their answers are all laid out there. They've been viewed by the high school crew. They've been viewed by the administrators, and Dave has gone over to kind of check make sure that they all make sense. And then the last thing is we've included a PDF of the budget sheet. And this budget sheet basically kind of has a couple of different things on it. On the left-hand side there, it shows what strategies we're connecting each of the purchase, and each line is a specific purchase. So you'll be able to go through and see. What I can tell you is it's exactly the same as it was 2 years ago when we first created this. Our behavioral mental health admin, the counselors, we're reinvesting, we're continuing our investment. I highlighted some in yellow, and what that was, there's a couple of these that we're starting to move into other budgets. The calc admin, we need to move that into general fund. So that's just that's part of what it is to do business in our district, is to have we moved the DLP TOSA. We're funding in a different way. Oz went out and got a grant from the RED for the cost of that DLP. So we removed it from this budget. We did move it. You'll notice it's on, there's some lower priority columns. And so we didn't like remove it. We just moved it from priority 1 to priority 2. If we get more money, there's a couple of bills that are in the legislature right now that would increase the amount of cash in this, then we can begin to invest in some of these other pieces too. But the top part is basically SIA. And then you'll see the bottom part there is in orange, and that's basically the high school success. The other thing that you'll see in those columns is basically we've listed out the FTE. There's a lot of FTE that we're buying through these 2 grants. And again, that's lowering class sizes. That's making so that our counseling is close to ASCA levels. But and then below, there's a couple of more lines that you'll see the numbers that fall in the second priority column, meaning there's a couple of things that we're looking at. One, expanding ELD to meet the LOUD plan. There's another piece there where we're talking about a family resource person. We have family resource grant, but it's all related to pre-K. And so that person really only works with parents who have pre-K folks. So we need somebody to begin to coordinate with parents who are not pre-K. We don't really have anybody right now to do that and to help like families. We have lots of systems in place to help families who are needy, clothes, food, the rest, but we don't really have a good coordinator. So we're working on, we've put some other things that we're thinking about in that priority 2. The budget, so go ahead.
Where is that priority at? The numbers are pretty small, is for the family resource.
I have to talk to that. And again, I think everything here, we were struggling how to present this. You don't have to apply, you don't have to approve anything tonight. Take a look at the spreadsheets. We gave you links to the PDFs. You can kind of take a look at send me any questions you have, I'm happy to, but there isn't, in this, we're only buying what we've already bought. There is no, I can't think of anything that we're purchasing out of this that we don't already pay for. And this budget that ODE handed us is basically, do you want to continue doing what you're doing? And we had to cut some things out of it just to continue doing what we're doing. We did break down for you, and I'll share this whole spreadsheet or this slideshow with you. We did kind of break down so you can see how we're spending the largest amount of the money here. It's about 1.8 million in the high school success, 4.7 million in the Student Success Act, and then early intervention is about 16,000. What you can see there is we've got about 35% of the money is spent in well-rounded education. Health and safety is about 31.4%. The reduced class size, we have some FTE built into this, but not as many. The administrative costs are basically set. You've got the career and technical, that's coming from the high school, college level, dropout prevention. So that's kind of how the money is currently being spent. And then the last slide that I have here is kind of by FTE. So you can see the red here is the student investment account. And then the blue is the high school success. There's about 44 FTE that we've got built into the SIA. There's about 10, 11 FTE built into the high school success. And we kind of tried to break it out by our, areas there. Just so you can kind of see where the cash is. Like I said, basically, we're just doing what we continue to do. That's why I didn't know how I could send you more detail around the engagement, but I just didn't know how to go, where to go with that. Questions?
Dave, what are we looking at for the timeline here?
The timeline is, we need you to approve on the next meeting in March 13th, we need to get an approval. March 30th, David will submit our application into their smart sheets. We'll upload the budget spreadsheet, which has the outcomes and then the budgets, and then we'll upload all of those answers to the questions.
And so how long do we know, and when will we know?
So then they will take it and they will put it through a process where they have a team of folks who look at our submission. They'll send us back any changes they want from it. And then and then I'll bring that to you and we'll make those changes. But to be really honest, the amount of like the number of parents that we talk to directly and the students that we've contacted through this process, I'm gonna find it hard that they're gonna have a problem with the level that we went to kind of talk to them. So, but we'll find out somewhere between the end of March and like the beginning, end of May, where we should get some kind of feedback from them on the application.
Hey, thank you for the information. A lot of work.
Sure.
I just have a question because I'm just seeing kind of correlations, opportunities for synchronization from just the work meeting that we have. I'm intrigued about the family resource.
Yeah.
Pre-K. I think that there's a connection with the attendance challenge that we have, and then also with the mental health situation. And just on my own, having done some research of what other school districts are doing in the state and out of state. So there's actually quite a bit of family resource money being invested in helping our students, helping our families. But I'm wondering how much leverage is currently taking place with the community, especially about potential future funding that might come out to nonprofits to see how that work can be collaborated together, similar kind of, it's that intentional collaboration that we heard earlier from our counseling team, how much of that might happen in general. So we're not working in isolation.
I'm interested in what you're reading. What I can tell you is that the family resources, the conversations that we started. Conversations one is, as we're building Cornelius, we see the need for some sort of family resource center in that building. And then the conversation's been are just around our ability to, there's a set of parents who have needs, who don't know who to contact in our district unless you're pre-K. And we have other contacts, but there's like a purpose. Everybody else is doing other things, and so we're still lacking like a contact point there. I don't have any problem at all, like collaborating with some other groups who may also. Originally, this family resource was actually part of. Which group paid for that? YMCA is like YMCA. So originally, 10 years ago, we had a collaboration where they were pushing the person into our organization who's then doing this family outreach. So I'm open to some ideas around how we might be able to synergize. We also have a group of folks who, when there are needs of clothes or shoes or whatever, who are out in our community, who we push emails in front of and say, hey, there's a family that has a need, and then those folks get back. But again, we're kind of lacking some coordination. So I mean, I think there's some really good places for us.
Well, so many years ago, Forest Grove School District, I'm talking many years ago, River City, it's a parent and a community member, the audience. We had a position there, but it was a high level administrator. And that was Dr. Marian Baradar, who literally did a lot of administrative work, but she was very well known in the community and respected for doing family resources, bringing the parents together, all parents to educate us about all the resources and the student parent handbook, and gave a lot of empowerment to the parents. And that's been missing for years. So anyway, I just wanted to, we've had a model before that worked, and then because of budget cuts, that decision got cut.
Yeah, let's talk some more. I'd be really curious about your funding. So that's always a good thing to talk about. Right. Yeah. Other questions? So we'll bring it back to you. Yeah, I'll push out an email with some more links on it, so you can connect into whatever, however deep you want. If you send me any questions that you want answered or are curious about, we can do that. We'll kind of go from there.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, moving on, the next portion of the meeting is action items, I think. Yeah, four action items this evening. The first is classified employee week proclamation. Attached is a proclamation to acknowledge classified school employee week, March 6th to the 10th, 2023. Our classified employees play an integral part of the Forest Grove School District's educational mission. These employees work very hard and are very deserving of being recognized. So there is a proclamation I'm going to read, and at the end of that, we'll ask for a motion to approve this. We'll take a vote. So let me read the classified employee week proclamation. Whereas the education of youth is essential for the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system, and whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members, and whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students, and whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Forest Grove School District Board of Directors proclaims March 6th to the 10th 2023 to be classified employee appreciation week. And be it further resolved that the Forest Grove School District Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of each of these individuals. So that's the proclamation. Is there a motion? I'll move.
Second,
Seconded. Do a vote. I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
West. And,
just wanted to introduce. Just. And then wanted to introduce three. Here. Set. Cheapest.
Red button. You just have to-
All right. Thank you, everyone. As you said, I'm Karina Quintanilla. I'm the Chica's program manager. We're going to be just presenting on the program and going into some of the different details about the benefits of the program as well. I'll also introduce my colleagues here. Hi, I'm Isabel Chavez Gomez. And I'm Daniela Leon. All right. So just a brief overview of Chicas. We are an after-school program for the most part for Latina girls and women. We serve students age 3rd grade all the way through college, and we are operating all the way throughout Washington County, although we did start here in Forest Grove. We incorporate academic support, leadership development, social emotional support as well, family partnerships, just positive changes in cultural and gender identities. Health education and overall well-being for our youth. The main component of our program is the after-school sessions, but we also do have family engagement, parent workshops, and different events throughout the year. We have a journey to college component, Chicas in College, which is new to us in the past couple of years, as well as summer programming. These are just some of our accomplishments over the past year. One that we are super proud of, both of them, is our 100% graduation rate for all of our seniors, and we have maintained that. I think as long as the program has been going on, so it's amazing. And last year, we also had 100% of our seniors go on to college. Key activities this year, we are currently serving 184 kids in Forest Grove School District, 3rd through 12th grade. We do also serve 90+ college participants, many of those who come from Forest Grove School District. This year, we have had 61 after-school sessions so far, 7 college readiness events, including parent workshops, presentations, college and career fairs, and college visits. We've had 3 just fun field trips. The kids got to go bowling, the zoo, all kinds of things. We have had 4 family engagement events that are apart from the college ones. We have 21 college students of those 90 who have received emergency grants. And we have had 1 Chicas in College intern from Forest Grove School District. Okay, and so with the college and career component, it can be broken down into 2 different aspects. Journey to College, like I mentioned earlier, which really provides support our Chica students with the support that they need to graduate high school successfully. And so the students in our Chicas program, particularly seniors, receive individualized mentorship, support with admissions and financial aid, filling out the FAFSA or ORSA, and any other scholarships, letters of recommendation that they need. We also place a big emphasis on including the parents with this college readiness.
So there's parent workshops throughout the year as well, community events and partnerships with schools or school districts, and college visits again. And then we also, as of 3 years ago, we have our Chicas in College initiative, which is an expansion or an extension of our after-school program. We realized that, students would graduate high school and they would go off into the world, and we had no idea how they were doing, if they were still in school, what kind of support they were receiving or not receiving. And so in an effort to continue student success, making sure that they were still enrolled in college, doing well academically, mentally, all of the ways doing well, we created Chicas in College. So every student that graduates from our from high school is graduated into the Chicas in College program. I follow them. I continue to do I continue to provide mentorship. They receive peer support from the 3 interns in the program who also attend the universities, 3 of the universities that our students attend. They continue to receive financial aid support. We have a paid internship position. We offer emergency grants which cover costs in addition to tuition and fees, things that usually scholarships wouldn't cover. And so we also offer IDAs, which are individual development accounts. And this year we're beginning to offer a 5-to-1 match savings program. So for every $1 that students deposit into this IDA savings account, we match them $5, which is an incredible benefit for our students. And then we also connect them. We built really positive relationships, strong positive relationships with the multiple resource centers on campus that serve the same population that we do in Chicas. And so we're able to bridge that gap between new students in college to the college resources. So we've built a lot of positive and successful relationships across our 10 colleges where our students, or over 90 students attend. And so we also just wanted to highlight some of the advocacy efforts that we do. So in regards to Student Success Act, we do participate in the Oregon Community Foundation's Latino Student Success Community Engagement and Advocacy, which is a cohort with other community-based organizations across Oregon to talk about the work that we do in after-school programming and just holistically supporting students. Latinx students and Indigenous students, and then the Oregon Department of Education's Latinx and Indigenous Student Success Act. In addition to the above, we also participate in HEC's Leadership Council for Equity, which advises policy and decision-making in terms of where funding should be allocated to ensure that students are being holistically supported and that college is accessible for all. And then we've also participated in the Joint Task Force on Student Success for underrepresented students in higher education, long title. And so we, myself and our Director of Education Programs, Patricia Alvarado, provided recommendations for the legislative sessions. You can find that online, and we can also send it to you several pages. Okay, so we just wanted to also give kind of a breakdown of what the cost is really paying for. So our cost to run programs at each of our sites is actually $33,000 per site. We are asking for $10,000 per site from Forest Grove School District, and with that, every participant and their family will receive the 25 after-school sessions, the individualized mentoring from their Chicas facilitator, as well as the one-on-one mentoring from our college and career team, the Journey to College workshops that each site puts on, minimum of 1 college field trip and 2 fun field trips, but there tend to be more. We have several volunteer opportunities, parent engagement workshops, individualized family support from our family engagement team as well. So sometimes families might need a little bit more support, accessing resources, or something might be going on at home and we're able to give that support as well. As I mentioned, we have that match savings college account, and we've actually added a mental health equity department to the so participants also receive access to culturally specific mental health services. Not included in this cost, but open to all of our participants and any youth really who want to participate. We have a 5-week-long soccer academy, 2-week-long Chicas summer camps, focusing several different areas, STEM, leadership development, career exploration, and many others. And we also have outdoor education field trips that we're providing throughout the year. There's actually one this Saturday. We're going to the Fertile Wetlands with the Audubon Society, so very excited about that. And Daniela will finish us off with a participant testimony.
So, as I mentioned earlier, I am currently a Chicas youth facilitator, but I'm currently also a first-generation Latina college student attending Washington Oregon University. I'm currently majoring in psychology with a minor in health, and I'm expected to graduate this spring, so I'm very excited about that. A little bit of background about myself. I was a Chicas participant from 3rd grade to 12th grade, and I did graduate from Forestville High School as well. During this time, I did get a lot of exposure to colleges and universities. And through that, I was able to go to college visits. I was able to learn how to apply for scholarships, financial aid. I built connections, and I was also part of the IDA program, which definitely contributed to helping me pay for my college tuition. Through that as well, I had the opportunity to intern for Chicas as well, and I participated as a participant in Chicas in college. During that time, actually, I was living on campus, so it was definitely a huge support system for me during that time. And they also provided me with emergency student aid grants that also contributed to my tuition as well. I had the opportunity to intern for Chicas in college. And so with that, I was able to learn different resources and make myself knowledgeable about different resources that different universities provide, and serve as a mentor for current participants of Chicas in college. And now I have the opportunity to work for Chicas. Like I mentioned, I am a Chicas youth facilitator. But with that being said, Chicas not only has contributed to myself, but it has contributed to my family as well. Currently, as you can see at the top right-hand corner, my younger sister is currently part of the early childhood education through La de las Mujeres. My mom is currently part of the adult education and health equity program. During high school at the time, she would often attend parent workshops where she would inform herself on how students apply for college, students apply for scholarships. And with that information, she became more knowledgeable to teach my younger siblings or help them out during that process when it comes time for that. And my second to youngest sister is now also being part of Chicas. But with that being said, I can 100% confidently say that Chicas have contributed to where I'm currently at right now. And being a current Chicas facilitator, I can share my knowledge and share my mentorship with current Latinx Chicas participants.
That's it. Thank you so much. We'll leave time for questions.
Thank you so much. That was a great presentation. So there's lots of good information, and I love your guys' program. Thank you. Yeah.
So I just have just a kind of a nuts and bolts. I think I saw it costs like $33,000 on the program. But I think you're requesting 10,000. So, so just, it's the math question, right?
Yes, yes. So we are nonprofit, so we do apply to different grants, just as you were speaking right now about applying for a grant. That's basically how we function.
Okay.
We work with 30 schools across Washington County. So each district does contribute 30% to our program, and then we bring the other funds, so we have grants or private donors.
The Chicas in college. So by funding our students, they get access to that when they're in college.
Correct.
There's not an additional cost.
No, correct. Our program goes from October through May, June, and all of the other stuff that happens in the summer, which is mostly either Port School District or central location for students that don't include college or your support. And bringing our students back to working in our community, because that's the biggest thing that we want to do. Workforce development, making sure that we're bringing our students, because we want more representation.
Absolutely.
So we need.
So the contract's 70,000, so I'm assuming that's 7 sites then?
We are at 7 sites: Fernhill, Josephville, Cornelius, Echo Shop, 2 sites at Tomahawk, Neil Armstrong, and Forest Road. Sorry, not Fernhill. Fernhill has been. I shouldn't have said that. There Martinez one. Not Fernhill.
I just wanted to say, thank you. I'm a little biased. I served as a little headed board in the beginning stages and some years ago. And such to say, really proud of the work that you're all doing. And really doing a lot of supplementary work. You heard, earlier the challenges about the budget, the collaboration. So And it's a very unique program, obviously, within the state of Oregon and the nation. That I think we've been humbled to not say how many awards have been provided to this particular program, in partnership with the district. And, maybe not now, but I'm just more curious about the, that you heard mention we made another component, which is the mental health, right? Which is something that, Forest Grove, like many other school districts, is struggling. And then, what is your name? Daniela, you mentioned your major, so, do you ever see yourself coming back to Forest Grove as something?
She's our new head member.
As of right now, I definitely want to absorb as much as I can in Fujiga, but maybe in the future, who knows?
Yeah, maybe there's opportunities for investing.
She's not done.
But yes, Nancy, thank you so much. Yes, we appreciate everything that's done for Mujeres. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know about behavioral issues that we've been experiencing across the health nation. And Mujeres realized that we needed to provide more mental health services to our families and students. But it was a challenge just scheduling appointments with other providers, and that's why we decided, well, why not build our own mental health department, where the health equity department was born, and so we will have our own in-house mental health services for our own participants that our culture reflects to them. So,
And then one last question, just out of curiosity. So I know, it appears that does quite a bit of data analysis in regards to the number of the chicas that participate in the program. But I'm just wondering, Dave and other mujeres, have we done an analysis of like a pie chart? So these are the chica programs, these are the muchachos that attended the chicas program, this is the retention, and then a comparison to another segment of Latinos within the school district that did not get that service and what the retention is.
yeah, so actually, a couple prior to the pandemic, years before, Mr. Garcia actually did something similar to that because there was also some challenges with funding. And he took it upon himself to do a study on like two groups, the chicas and non-chicas. That was a couple years ago, but I think that would be very interesting to look at something like that again.
I'm just curious because I would assume there would be some.
Yes, and there was a significant difference in the type of support that the Latinos were receiving and the outcomes, obviously.
Yeah, their data is excellent.
I mean, 100% graduation rates.
They're-
It can't get any better than that.
and-
But it
and-
really is all up to because of the amazing support that they are providing to our Latinas. And I mean, they are also young Latinas. Again, we're talking about representation and it really matters. And they're doing an amazing job with our students. So what you're saying is that you're keeping Danielle. Yeah. Yeah. Ready to go. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. May I make a motion?
Sure.
I move that we approve the 2022-2023 contract with Adelante Mujeres as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, we'll do a roll call vote on, I guess.
Yes.
Constance, I guess.
Yes.
Kate?
Kate?
Kate? Okay.
She just got in and out, like the wind.
She's in and out. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
I am a yes. Back in the day. This Zoom tonight has been iffy.
So see. Let's see, are there any items? I think, that will be the